Well, hello and welcome back to another video. My apologies, I haven't posted anything in the last couple of 3 weeks. I haven't been feeling too well, nothing serious, I'm pleased to say, so my apologies, it's been a bit slow. And obviously one only feels like making videos when you're 100%, and I didn't have anything really of interest to make a video about anyway. Yesterday afternoon I decided to go for a walk, just a local walk, and on the way out I picked my camera and GoPro out, and I made a little video. My sincere apologies about the wind noise. It was really windy as it is here today, so my apologies. There are some blustery moments, shall we say, within the video, but I hope you enjoy it and it gives you an idea of the countryside and what I like, and a little bit of local history as well. Well, hello and welcome back to another video. Something a little bit different today. I've come out on a local walk, and as you know, I've been always very interested in history, so I thought I'd come and show you some of the local sites. And we're down here at a location. The land I'm on is private. There is no actual public rights of way here. I have asked permission. I do know the landowner, and what we're looking at is part of the embankment of the Northampton to Peterborough railway line. We're just about 6 miles east of Northampton here, so we're right up at the Northampton end. This was quite an early branch line. The main London to Birmingham railway was built in 1838. Robert Stephenson, I believe, was the chief engineer on that, and they started looking in around about 1842 of building this branch from Blisworth on the main line, because Northampton wasn't served by the main London to Birmingham line. The line curved round, missing Northampton. A lot of people think that was down to landowners, but in reality it was, Robert Stephenson said when he engineered the line, he could get trains into Northampton, but the gradient to get trains out again was going to cost too much money. And obviously early railway lines, much like canals, often followed the contour of the ground and what was cheaper. So, as I say, in 1843 there was an Act of Parliament raised, and I think it was around about July that reached royal assent, I think it's called, isn't it? And this Northampton to Peterborough line was commissioned to be built, and so we'll have a walk along, and I'll probably tell you a little bit more about the history as we go along. We're just going to walk along a little bit of the old track bed. So I'm not sure how well the sound will be on this because this is my GoPro. We are now actually on the old track bed of the line, and we're looking back up there to what was Billing Station and Billing Signal Box up that side. Just down here, we're looking obviously down towards the river. We're on the embankment. Just here was, I remember coming down here and playing as a child, there was a yellow distant signal just about just down in that little path there, on quite a long pole on a pine wooden post, with a then bolted. It had obviously been changed to a metal signal gantry, and that was a yellow distant, and that was as I say, operated from Billing Signal Box, which was less than barely a quarter of a mile up that direction, and been quite a long old pull that would, when you think it's all pulled on wires and pulleys from the signal box. So we'll have a walk along. As I say, we are now walking on the old track bed. Originally, when the railway was built, as I say, it was work virtually started straight away in 1843. after the Act of Parliament was passed and the money was raised, I believe the railway was built by the London and Birmingham railway executives, and obviously, you know, that's where a lot of the money came from. Interestingly enough, it was built as from Blisworth to Northampton. It was double tracked right from the opening, but from Northampton to Peterborough it was a single track line. But just shows you how popular probably the line was, because by 1846 the line had been doubled, so there was an up and a down track right through to Peterborough. So there are a few actual features of the railway line left that, you know, if you're a stranger and you're walking along these fields, or if you're on the river, you perhaps wouldn't even know there had been a railway here. But here we have like an underpass was built. I don't know whether this was original, you know, actually original part of the original railway line, but I should think it probably was. So when you think this was probably constructed prior to 1845, when the railway finally opened, and it stood here all this time, you know, and when you look at, we have a look, you know, it's quite a substantial cast iron girder there, which is very obviously early Victorian in construction, riveted underneath. And kind of almost, you know, the brickwork is formed and then has been rendered. Yeah, beautiful bit of, you know, all in blue bricks, all in like what I call hard Staffordshire blue bricks, with stone plinths on top and stone copings. The sun's very bright today, unfortunately. And this was built basically as an underpass for the farmer to get through, to drive flock. I mean, this ground has always, this fields rather, have always been cattle. This was a dairy farm years and years ago, and obviously it was safer to drive the cattle or get access to the fields with machinery, horses, and it was often cut for hay. So this was an underpass. I mean, it's interesting to when you look at the history of the railway, it was built ever so quickly, and it's 47 miles from Blisworth to Peterborough, and it was built in no time at all, because there wasn't a lot of earthworks needed. Most of it's built on slight embankments, and that's all that was required. And there's one small tunnel which is on the preserved Nene Valley Railway now at Wansford. That is still there, and so there's only one small tunnel on the whole 47 miles. As I say, it was built at an incredible speed, and would you believe, I always find this amazing, the estimated cost of the railway in 1843 was £500,000, and actually when they sat down and totted it all up, when the railway finally opened, as I say, I think it opened on the 2nd of June to 1845, it come in under budget. And perhaps in my description I will put the exact figure of what it actually cost to build. You know, I mean, could you bet that wouldn't even buy you a 4-bedroomed house today, a detached house up in the village or the villages around here? So as I say, it came in under budget. Amazing that you could build a railway for that. As I say, it follows closely the line of the Nene Valley and the River Nene, obviously, or the River Nene, from which end of the county you come from. And here we are right by the side of the river. As I say, the river isn't particularly big here, but it does have, you know, a tendency to flood, so you can see why you can still make out the railway embankment there. And obviously that's why that was built up a little bit here, to try and, you know, prevent flooding. The buildings you can see in the distance are the Billing Aquadrome and Billing Mill, and the white, I think you can probably just see the outlines of a white painted house through that ash tree. That is virtually where the signal box was at Billing and Billing Station. Just a little, it was only a little, very like a almost like a temporary halt. Didn't have a proper station there. Years and years ago, there used to be some chalets down here that people used to come to in the summer, and I think I've got a rather nice old picture that I'll put of how this looked in the 1930s. So there used to be some little like wooden chalets that people used to come to Northampton and Wellingborough and various other places, and often walk here, or often get off the train at Billing and then walk along. And it was quite a nice spot down here in the summer with the river. And so that's looking back from where we've just come over the little underpass bridge there. And another relic of the railway line is this brick, later brick. I think this was built probably in the London Midland Scottish LMS days. And basically this was a little plate layer's hut. So anybody working on the track would have some shelter. And it was a very, very well maintained railway in its life. A lot of local people got jobs on the railway, and we have some families in the village where I live that 2 and 3 generations of family worked on the railway. And years ago, I remember this better. It's got very dilapidated. There used to be a little pot-belly stove in the corner, and as I say, so another later remnant. And I would put this, as I say, at somewhere in the early days of the railway. But that was just a little bit of shelter for anyone working on the tracks. It's quite hard on this section to actually see where the track bed was anymore. Obviously it's been eroded over the years. The railway finally closed, sadly, in May 1964, and it was one of the beaching cuts, sadly. But having said that, you know, passenger traffic had got very, very minimal. That it wasn't being used a lot, and I was always told by a local family who there was a big campaign locally to try to keep the line open. But a local family told me that one of the main reasons why it did sadly close was the fact that from Northampton to Peterborough, the railway crossed an amazing 21 roads. There was 21 level crossings, and obviously even in the early 1960s, when, you know, the beaching report was commissioned, there wasn't not on these local rural railways, there wasn't automatic gates. Every level crossing had to be manned, and that was very expensive. You know, that was, you know, a lot of money needed to be taken on the railway just to fund the level crossing and the staff responsible for those. So I suppose really it was an inevitable fact that sadly the railway shut. To say we now that the railway actually came right down here, we're still on the course of the line, and there again a local historian has got some of the logbooks from the local billing station, or billing signal box I should say, and it seems this section here was very prominent to flooding, and even into the early 1960s there was many cases where it had to be run on one track. We've come to a section now right down by the river, and as I say, this is on the old track bed still, and you can see all the cinders. They've done some drainage work here, or attempted to do some drainage work for the field. This land above us is very, very wet land. Some of it, obviously all the springs are running down towards the river Nene or Nene, and you can see there's lots of old cinder here, giving an indication that this was, you know, the old railway. In the distance there, you can see, if I zoom in, you might even see it even better. That is the guillotine gate of one of the big locks on the River Nene. There's many of those. There's more or less one every 2 miles on this river. If I hold the camera still, you might see it. There we go. And the railway continued on through those ash trees there, right close, right alongside the river again. And then it followed the mill race and went round Cooknoe Mill to the right hand side, and there was another level crossing, because there's a little track down to Cooknoe Mill, and there was another crossing cottage and a set of crossing gates there originally, and obviously that's all well gone now, and the crossing cottage is still there, and it's been made into quite a big house now. So as I say, the railway was noted, you know, for its scenic views, and I hope, you know, though it's a rather dull day, you can still see today it's sort of very pretty, what I call Northampton countryside all around here. I hope the wind noise isn't too bad. I suppose it probably is, but never mind. So we're now looking, I'm sorry, I'm a bit out of breath. Oh dear. I've climbed up the valley to a favourite location I used to come as a child. Why, might you ask? I was a bit fitter in those days, because there's a big horse chestnut tree here, and it was a favourite place to come conquering this time of year, although they're long gone now, I think. September and early October. But you can see here we get a stupendous view. I don't know whether, if I zoom in a little bit, how much you'll see of this in the distance, but that's Northampton over there. We can see the Express Lift Tower, we can see the cricket club, floodlights, and if we bring the camera down a bit, you can see the little plateless hut and the underpass bridge, and where we started out, and the river in the valley there. If we come round, I mean, the trees are looking really lovely at this moment in time, and the little village over there, if we get round to it, is a little village called Ecton, the other side of the valley. That's the more Wellingborough side of the valley. And then if we spin right round, the little town over there is a place called Earls Barton, and then just beyond that is the small town of Wellingborough. You could perhaps see why early Viking settlers, then the Saxons, then the Normans picked this spot as a village site because it has such splendid a radius, view there of the valley and anybody coming up the river. I think in those times, that field where the sheep are, if we hold the camera still, that sheep there, where the sheep are, the field below us would have been very marshy, boggy ground, because by those willow trees at the back, if I zoom in, those willow trees there is another backwater of the river which is very nearly as big as the main river. And there again, I'm led to believe that was the original course of the River Nene. And this what we call the river now, was dug out to feed the many mills in this section going down. There's Billing, and then we've got our village has a mill. So we can roughly still see the old railway line ran, and one can see why it was so, flooding was such a problem on this section, and it would disappear behind those trees, as I say, and continue its on. The next station down, just about 1.5 miles, perhaps 2 miles, was at a station called Castle Ashby, where there's a big house, and there was quite a biggish station there as well. And I think there was a goods yard as well at Castle Ashby. Behind those popular trees there is our little 12th century village church. There you can't really see it, but it's a lovely little church. In a later video I might come and have a look at that because it's well worth. It's a fine Northamptonshire sandstone church tower and church. And so now we'll swing back home and walk back. This path through here is a very old hedge, and it's what's known as a double-sided hedge. So you've got a little path going down the middle of two hedges. This has got an awful lot of folklore with it. As we're coming up to Halloween, there's a local story about the local farmer's lad fell in love with the rector's daughter, and obviously we've seen the church where we've come from, and this was the way the family who lived in Rectory Farm would walk up to church, and this lad fell in love with the vicar's daughter, and it wasn't a romance to be, and I don't know the ins and outs of the story. There's so many versions, but in the end, sadly, the girl got killed, and it's said that at a full moon, certain times of the year, she still walks down this double-sided hedge holding her head. Now, I've never seen her, but I have to say I haven't been out here in the dark on a night of a full moon, which might surprise you. But I mean, there's loads of local stories and myths and legends, but some people in our local heritage society have been looking into this story, and there is some very vague truth, not about the ghost, but about the local lad falling in love with the vicar's daughter. But obviously records from that era are so cloudy, one can't be 100% sure. And there we've come virtually full circle to where we started, over by the embankment there. Well, I hope you found this a little bit interesting. It's just a little bit of a video. It was a nice day and I fancied a walk. It's a long time since I've been round here, and I will put a better potted history of some of those railway facts in the description box below, because it might have got a bit garbled, some of it. So as always, thanks for watching. Please do come back, and if you fancy it, I'm not going to tell you one thing or other, but if you fancy it, please do subscribe, please do like, please do comment. If you know anything about the Northampton Peterborough Railway, I'm always any interesting stories. If your family might have worked on it at any time, we'd love to hear about that in the comment section, as always. And till the next video, all the best.